While defund the police makes for a catchy slogan, the logic behind it is nuanced. MPD 150, a Minneapolis campaign group and one of the key proponents of the idea, explicitly calls for a police-free future. Others use the term to mean small cuts to the police, or simply stopping increases to policing budgets. Across the board, the idea is that money that would usually be spent on the police would instead be funneled into other initiatives that might improve public safety. Although the slogan was popularised by the George Floyd protests in the US, theorists in the UK have been discussing whether we should reallocate police funds for decades.
My name is Dr Adam Elliott-Cooper. I work at the University of Greenwich in the Department of Sociology, and my research looks at policing and racism in Britain. The origins of defunding the police are identifying the fact that the police and prison system has expanded enormously over the past 100 years, but we haven't seen any improvement in public safety or reduction in harm. The other thing that's important about it is that we see racism and the oppression of working class people and other oppressed groups also being reproduced by the police and prison system. Taking that into consideration, defunding the police argues that we need to think of new ways of solving social problems that don't involve putting people into cages. Prison and police abolition doesn't mean closing all the prisons tomorrow or ending all policing the day after. What it does mean is that we need to think about social policies which can envisage a world in which prisons and police are no longer needed. So one of the ways in which we can do that is by saying, rather than expanding the power of the police, what preventative measures can we put into place to prevent people from coming into contact with the police and prison system? Reinvesting in youth services would be one important way of improving public safety. Improving mental health provision, particularly for young people, whether it be in schools or in other youth services, would be another way. Reinvesting in our women's refuges and women's centres so victims of domestic violence have a safe place to be would be a really important place too. In the longer term, we need a massive investment in council housing in this country to ensure that the people that need it now and the people that will need it in the future have safe homes to live in. We also need, of course, huge investment in education, training and jobs to ensure that there are well-paid, secure jobs for the next generation of young people coming up too. These types of things will be hugely important for improving levels of crime and safety within this country. African Americans are disproportionately incarcerated in the US at the same rate as black people in Britain are incarcerated over here. Furthermore, we see other problems in relation to stop and search and excessive use of force disproportionately affecting both black people in Britain and African Americans in the United States. In the US, we can see a legacy of slavery, Jim Crow, and the current problems of racism in the police and prison system. But in British history, most of British policing hasn't taken place on the British mainland. The British Empire involved policing Britain's enslaved people in the Caribbean, or its colonised subjects in Africa and South Asia and elsewhere. And so we should be unsurprised that the racism of British policing didn't begin with the Windrush. It began with the British Empire, and we're still living with those legacies today. One of the biggest hurdles in defunding the police will be the fact that gangsters, immigrants, and terrorists have been one of the ways in which the police and the government have legitimated their power over decades. Identifying the fact that the immigrants and black and minority ethnic communities which are used to justify the expansion of police and prisons isn't helpful either to them or to wider society is a fundamental barrier in overcoming the ways in which police and prisons have become so normal in how we're supposed to solve social problems in this country.